Forever Mine in Death. Written by Morrigan Black. Narration services provided by 11 Labs Inc., produced by Morrigan Black. Copyright 2024. All rights reserved. The story, all names, characters, and incidents portrayed in this production are fictitious. No identification with actual persons, living or deceased, places, buildings, and products is intended or should be inferred. Chapter 1. I've seen enough haunted houses to know they're usually just old pipes and settling foundations with a generous helping of overactive imaginations. But Blackwood Manor. Something about this place gets under my skin the moment I lay eyes on it. The autumn wind whips around me as I kill the engine of my beaten-up Ford van, the one with Mercer Paranormal Investigations painted on the side in peeling letters. Dad's handiwork. Sometimes I think about painting over it, but I can't bring myself to do it. Just like I can't bring myself to close down the business, even though most of my cases end up being raccoons in the attic or creaky floorboards that sound like footsteps. Like the Thompson case last month, 3 weeks of investigation just to discover their ghost was a draft from a loose window frame making the curtains dance. Or the demon-possessed teenager in Bristol who turned out to be sneaking prescription meds from her grandmother's cabinet. The most exciting case I've had this year was the poltergeist that ended up being an elaborate scheme by a failing restaurant owner to get on those ghost hunting shows. Real original. But this place, this is different. Blackwood Manor towers like a condemned man's last nightmare, its spires jabbing accusingly at the slate-grey sky. The brick facade has turned the colour of old blood, and the windows, those damn windows, they remind me of the vacant eyes I used to see in my childhood friends. The ones Dad said were just passing through from the other side. The ones I eventually convinced myself weren't real. God, I should have paid attention in school and got an office job, one with steady pay and a nice retirement plan. Who am I kidding? I'm too used to being on my feet, travelling around, and once you've touched the other side, it's kinda hard to let it go, even if it could have all been a bunch of bad dreams. I grab my equipment case from the back of the van, the familiar weight of EMF meters and digital recorders doing little to settle my nerves. The gravel crunches under my boots like brittle bones as I make my way up the drive. Professional. Keep it professional. That's what I keep telling myself, even as every instinct screams at me to turn around and drive away. The gate groans on its hinges, a sound that belongs in every B-grade horror movie I used to mock. I've got my phone in one hand, scrolling through the client's email, standard stuff about footsteps in empty rooms, objects moving on their own, the usual greatest hits of haunted house complaints. Apparently, they want to sell the house, but too many strange occurrences had sent potential buyers sprinting for their cars and hightailing it away from here. I'm nearing the porch when something catches my eye in the overgrown garden, and I nearly drop both phone and equipment case. He appears like a ghost himself, materializing from behind a stone angel that looks like it's weeping rust. Tall, dangerous in the way a fine blade is dangerous. Beautiful, but lethal. His blood-red hair is pulled back in a ponytail, bound with a black ribbon that dances in the wind. Those eyes, Christ, those eyes are like green fire, and his smile holds secrets I'm not sure I want to know.
You must be the investigator,
he says, and his voice hits me like aged whiskey, smooth going down but with a burn that lingers.
I'm Alex. I live just down the road.
I've shaken hands with hundreds of clients, witnesses, and local curiosity seekers. But when our hands meet, electricity arcs between us that has nothing to do with my EMF meter. His touch lingers, and I let it, even though every rational part of my brain is throwing up red flags. Jake Mercer, I managed to say, trying to sound like a professional and not like a teenager with his first crush. Didn't know anyone lived nearby. His laugh is musical, dangerous.
Oh, I've been here. Quite a while. This old place, it gets in your blood, doesn't it?
I want to tell him that's ridiculous. Instead, I find myself staring at his lips as he talks about the house's history, about the strange things he's seen over the years. I should be taking notes, but all I can focus on is the way the waning sunlight catches in his hair, how his presence seems to fill up all the empty spaces around us.
Need help with your equipment?
He asks, and I nod before I can think better of it. I try to fish the mana key from my pocket, but the heavy equipment case in my hands makes it an awkward dance. I must look like an idiot, patting my pockets while trying not to drop thousands of dollars worth of ghost hunting gear. Alex steps closer, and that cologne of his, something ancient and spicy, makes my head swim.
Here, let me hold that for you.
He offers, those green eyes of his twinkling with barely contained amusement. I hand him the case, feeling heat creep up my neck. I don't know why I didn't think to ask you to hold it, I say with a self-deprecating laugh that sounds hollow even to my own ears. Christ, I'm acting like a teenager at prom. Alex's laugh is warm, genuine.
Don't worry about it. Blackwood has a way of scrambling people's thoughts. I've seen grown men forget their own names just standing in its shadow.
The key finally slides into the lock after 2 failed attempts. The door opens with a groan that sounds like a dying man's last breath, and trust me, I know what that sounds like. The foyer hits us with the stench of decay. Marble floors, once pristine white, now wear a film of grime like an old man's cataracts. A grand staircase curves up to the 2nd floor, its banister missing chunks like a prize-fighter's teeth. The living room beyond is a museum of abandonment. Sheet-covered furniture looms like pale ghosts, and what little renovation work has been done only highlights the decay. Fresh drywall patches stand out against water-stained wallpaper, like badly healed scars. You can set that down anywhere, I tell Alex, gesturing to the equipment case. He places it carefully on the dusty floor, and I try not to notice how gracefully he moves. There's more in the van if you're still offering to help.
Of course,
he says with that dangerous smile of his.
I'd love to.
Love. There's a word that has no business being thrown around in a place like this. But as we head back outside, I can't help wondering if Blackwood Manor isn't the only thing I should be worried about getting under my skin. As we walk back to the van, I catch his reflection in the side mirror. Or rather, I don't. For a moment, there's nothing there, but when I turn to look at him directly, he's solid as the ground beneath my feet. Must be the light playing tricks, must be my imagination, must be anything but what my gut is telling me, because I don't believe in ghosts. Not anymore. Not since Dad died and didn't come back to say goodbye, despite all his promises about how thin the veil is between worlds. But as Alex helps me carry cases into Blackwood Manor, as our hands brush, and that electric current jumps between us again and again, I can't shake the feeling that I'm walking into something I won't be able to explain away with loose pipes and settling foundations. The darkness of the house swallows us both, and somewhere above I swear I hear laughter, or maybe it's just the wind.
I would like to give a special thanks to both patrons and Lunar listeners. Thank you so much for your support. It's all going directly into creating more audio content for your listening pleasure. Lunar listeners receive early access to all audio chapters on YouTube. Patreon members receive early access to uncensored audio chapters, along with full audio shorts too hot for Amazon and YouTube.